Hi, this is Professor William Wagner, and it's Faith and Freedom Friday. Today, we want to look at freedom of speech on college campuses across the United States. The First Amendment to the Constitution and the constitutions of the various states in our republic all protect freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And when I say protect, what I mean is it serves as a constitutional limit on the exercise of government power. So if the university is a public university, if it's a government university, the rule of law expressly limits the exercise of those government authorities working at the university from substantially interfering with a citizen's freedom of expression or freedom of conscience. And so what we're seeing, though, in spite of this constitutional rule of law, is an overwhelming number of universities willing to defy the constitutional limitations that govern the law in this area. And let me point out that there are a number of private universities as well. And while they're not governed by this same constitutional limitation, the Constitution doesn't apply to private conduct here. A university is supposed to be a place where you have one place where people come together with a diversity of ideas, and it should be the place where people can safely express them and debate the great ideas of the time, and especially ideas that are the most difficult ones to discuss in the culture. The university was supposed to be the place where that happened. But in particular, though, if it's a government university, there's some frightening new evidence out. An organization named FIRE, which is more on the left side of the political spectrum. So you wouldn't necessarily think that was coming from there, but from the left side of the political spectrum, they did a very, very good report, very, very well researched. And this report showed that even though these government institutions, these government universities and colleges are legally required to be limited by the First Amendment and their state constitutions protecting freedom of speech, the vast majority of them were not following the Constitution. Of the 486 schools that this group looked at, 94 earned what they called a red light rating for having policies that overwhelmingly and substantially restricted a student's freedom of expression. 324 of those 486 schools were given by this organization a yellow light rating for having policies that imposed vague regulations on expression. And whenever you have a vague regulation on expression, you are opening the door for arbitrary enforcement by those who are in power to use their power in ways that interfere with constitutional liberty. And you give no notice of what is prescribed because you've written the regulation in such a way. So nobody knows ahead of time, whether or not their expression is going to violate the school's rules, and you've got the opportunity for arbitrary enforcement. And so the result is almost always a student, closing their mouth and being afraid to talk because their speech and their expression is so chilled that they dare not act in fear of government retribution. Just 60 of the schools earned what was called a green light rating for having policies that didn't seriously interfere with freedom of expression. And now there were some schools that, and there was a few of them, like 8 schools that didn't even get a rating because they didn't promise students free speech rights, at all. And so we got some really scary numbers coming out of that fire report there. So, but we want to point out where there's some good things happening. And for example, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they are standing firm for freedom of thought and conscience. Let me just read part of their policy to you. It says in the MIT policy, we cannot have a truly free community of expression if some perspectives can be heard and others cannot. Learning from a diversity of viewpoints and from the deliberation, debate, and dissent that accompanying them are essential ingredients of academic excellence. Surprise, surprise. I mean, yeah, that is exactly what a university is supposed to be about. And so you've got a number of private universities like Spring Arbor University, right here in Michigan, where I'm broadcasting from, that stands for freedom of expression, stands for freedom of conscience, and especially is going to, stand for people of faith to be able to express themselves. So freedom of expression, again, is a cornerstone of all of our other fundamental freedoms in our constitutional republic. Let me read further from the MIT policy. Freedom of expression promotes creativity by affirming the ability to exchange ideas without constraints. It not only facilitates individual autonomy and self-fulfillment, it provides for participation in collective decision-making and is essential in the search for truth and justice. Academic freedom promotes scholarly rigor and the testing of ideas by protecting research, publication, and teaching from interference. And it goes on and on and on about that. And I can tell you that is so different than many other universities today that are censoring, certain ideas from research, from being able to be published. And unfortunately, much of that often is the censoring is focused on Christian scholars and Christian people. So we've got a lot to work on in this upcoming 2023 year. A lot of scary stuff, as I've just shared with you, but a lot of positive, encouraging opportunity ahead of us as well. So until next time, stand for freedom of speech, stand for freedom of thought and conscience and religion, and be fiercely unafraid to do that, but always do it with compassion, love, and respect, just as Jesus would have you do. And so until next time, this is Professor William Wagner, and this has been Faith and Freedom Friday.